Random Stitcher and welcome back to my channel for Flosstube number 60. Boy howdy, has it been a long time since we have chit-chatted cross stitch and I missed you all very much. If you're new here, hi, my name is Brijin. This is my little corner of the internet where I talk about my crafting life, mostly about cross stitch. Today we're going to keep it strictly cross stitch because it has been so long that I am jumping back into this and it might take me a minute to remember how to film again. It's been, I think, about a month and a half-ish since I last filmed, which no one saw coming, not even me. But in the last month, a new Taylor Swift album has dropped. I lost my stitching bug, got it back again. My work got really crazy and life happens. So we're back. We're chit-chatting cross stitch. Tomorrow is Halloween, so I'm decked out in my spooky gear and we're just gonna have a good time and chit-chat crafting, which is always the best time around. So I missed you guys. Welcome back, and we're gonna keep it to the 11 projects that I've worked on since I last filmed. Thank goodness for my Notion app. It tracks my cross stitch for me and it allowed me to see everything that I've stitched since we've last talked. So we're gonna cover all of it, even the projects that like only got a few stitches in it, which I normally don't do, but we're just gonna chit chat all the cross stitch today. So let's get into it with the first project that I worked on. This would have been back at the beginning of September, which like I stitched a grand total of 1,000 stitches in the month of September, which is terrible numbers for me normally. I'm in the 12 to 15,000 stitches a month range, but I lost my stitching bug harder than I've ever lost my stitching bug before. It's crazy. I don't know what prompted it. It just left. And sometimes that just happens. So I leaned into it. I didn't stitch for a while. I didn't make myself stitch. I focused on some other hobbies. I really wasn't into much of anything else. I had a small sewing relapse where I quilted a bunch at the end of August leading into September, but then I kind of fell off of that too. And so since I really wasn't in the mood to do any crafting, I ended up picking up a Nintendo Switch and I started playing Stardew Valley, and that was really fun. We won't spend a ton of time talking video games, but all that to say, I barely stitched in September, which is a real shame because I do love a sampler September, and I had a lot of plans for what I was going to get done in the month of September, and that didn't really happen. So we're putting all that aside, and this is the project that I worked on just a little bit right as my stitching bug was kind of leaving, but every little bit counts. This is the Bookcase by Galliana cross stitch. I started this back in April of 2022. So I believe it is now my oldest whip, if I'm not mistaken. And I am stitching this on a piece of 36 count Highland linen by Picture This Plus with my own color conversion. And the last time that you saw it, it was sitting at almost 15% done, about 4,600 stitches in. And that would have been Flosstube 40. And this is what it looks like now. I think the last time I showed it to you, you'll see there's actually two versions of the piece on the same chunk of fabric. But I had originally started this with 2 strands of floss on the 36 count linen. And I didn't really love it. I'm not a 2-stranded stitcher. The process isn't my favorite, although the product is gorgeous. And this is a really big piece. It's like 30,000 stitches all together. So I really didn't want to do that for the whole rest of it. So I ended up doing a little bit of a pass around project with some of my friends, Cam, Rachel, and Elizabeth, and who all have floss tubes here as well. I'll have them linked down below, don't you worry. And they ended up getting this piece, I think to about here-ish. So I picked it up and I did this chunk. I think I might have done some in here. I'm not really sure. It's been a long time since I've looked at this, so your guess is as good as mine, but you will have seen the progress pictures where I don't have those made yet. So that is the Bookcase. I must have done about 2,000 stitches on it, I guess. Some of that was probably what my friends did because they ended up getting the project a little bit further along than I had originally had it when I mailed it off to them on this side. You'll see that's where I was for the most part. I had a few extra stitches, but I need to frog some of this. I was going to restart it on just a new piece of linen, but the new dye lot of Highland since 2022 does not look like this anymore. And I loved the old dye lot a lot with my color choices because this is a completely monochromatic piece, but I saw Stitches by Shelby a while back do hers with like a rainbow of books, and so I wanted all of my books to be different colors too. So I'm using Color and Cotton Black Walnut as my color for the actual bookshelf itself, and then all the knickknacks I will fill in with some DMCs that I've already chosen, but I'm gonna knock out all the monochromatic work first. So that's where the bookcase is, and huge shout out to my friends for getting it as far as they did. It was a joy to pick this back up. 36 count, 1 strand over 2. The freaking sweet spot of stitching in hand, especially monochromatic. This is a very brain off style stitch for me now, and I love it. So this, I think, is going to be my focus on a finished project for 2026, where I'm gonna try and do a little monthly goal every month to get this done, because as gorgeous as it is, I'm tired of it being on my whip list. I want it done. Next up is another piece that is a victim of the loss of my stitching bug. I didn't work on this a ton, just a little bit, and I hope to pick it up again before the end of the year, but we'll see what ends up happening. This is At Home by With Thy Needle and Thread. I started this back in July of 2023 when a bunch of other people were starting it. And the last time that you will have seen it, I had just gotten it to about 10% done. It had about 2,000 stitches in, and I only got it to 11, so I didn't get too much done on it. I think only about 250 stitches, but this is what it's looking like now, and every little bit of progress is progress. I'm stitching this on a 36 count piece of linen that I dyed myself, and I'm using the HDF Silk conversion from Vicki Clayton Silks, and it's gorgeous. So I think really all I did was I worked a little bit on this border up here. I did this tree and these little doodads there. So again, not a ton. And I love this project. She's a monster. And every time I pick it up, I never seem to get that far into it before I put it away again. So I need something to change on this, and I want to get it finished. So I need to just like block out a week and only work on this. But we have some other goals we're trying to get done before the end of the year, which we'll chat about toward the end. But that's At Home by With Thy Needle and Thread. Next up, I worked on Caught in the Swirl by Barrick. I started this piece back in March of 2024 with my friend Cameron of Cam the Stitcher after we saw it at Market that year, and I'm in love with this piece. Cam has since finished hers, so now I'm the bad one. I'm behind. It is what it is. I have a sad start on this project. But I think the last time you saw it, it was at about 16% complete, or about, I think, 1,500 stitches in, and it's now at 19.7. I did probably about 300 stitches on this as well, and this is what it looks like now. I'm stitching this on 40 count Travertine linen by Color and Cotton with the called for DMCs, and my needle minder is from Mad for Minders. And I love this project. I went in and did all of this green on this leaf. I just also can never seem to find enough time to work on this project. I am in the midst of dwindling down my whips, working them down, so that I will have more time to focus on some of these projects that just haven't gotten enough love. But it's now sitting at about 1,800 stitches, so that's good. It's not incredible, but you know, again, every little bit helps. So worked on this one for, I think, just a day, and I really want to get more done on this, especially now that Cam has lapped me and finished it. I really want this done. It's such a unique piece. I love Kathy's work. I'm keeping this on also in a project bag that Cam made for me that year at Market. It's literally the cutest with all these little cats on it from a Tula Pink line, I think. So I want to work on that one again too, but we'll see what ends up happening over the rest of the year. So I don't know if you guys have been watching the newest season of the Great British Baking Show, but I have. And I actually planned out joining Jessie Marie Does Stuff's British Bake Off Stitching Challenge this year. Like, I assigned a project to every person and I mapped it out. I made a little page in my Notion. I ended up falling off of that. It was my push to see if I could get my stitching bug back by just joining a new challenge. And unfortunately, I fell off the wagon. But for the couple weeks that I did participate, I got some of these projects with like little chunks of progress. So that's why you'll see a bunch of projects that only have like 300, 200 or so stitches in them. It's because I was attempting to participate in that. So one of the projects I worked on was Spook Haunt by Hello from Liz Mathews. I will be pulling this one out probably again tonight and tomorrow because I have a little tradition of working on this on Halloween every year since my friend Cam and I started this together. This is originally a Patreon exclusive, and I believe it's since come out for everyone. It's a gorgeous chart. I'm doing my own color conversion on it. And so I started it on Halloween in 2023. And this is what it's looking like now. I got it from 26% done to 29% done. I only did like 150 stitches on it, the teeny tiniest of goals, but you know, that is what it is. So I worked on the stem of this next pink flower here. It's charted in like blues and golds and reds, and then I changed the colors to be more orange, pink, purple, kind of neon. I'm keeping it in a project bag from Little Boat 88 that I love. And I'm stitching this on 40 count Barnwood by Picture This Plus, which I think, no, is not the call for. Maybe, I don't know. Either way, this is a really cool linen and it's a really gorgeous project. So I'm gonna continue my little Halloween tradition of working on this. We'll see how many stitches I get. I never seem to make a ton of progress on this one because the linen is so dark and it's a 40 count. So it's a little tough to see. So the progress is a little bit more slow going, but I'm obsessed with it. And it's not that big overall. So I think if I really focused, I could get a big chunk of progress and get this a little bit further. So shifting from Halloween to Christmas, the next project I worked on is 'Tis the Season by Blackbird Designs. I started this with Cross Stitch Kate back in July of 2023 for Christmas in July stitching. And I believe she finished it on her last Flosstube, which BT dubs, Kate, congratulations on your baby. She's adorable. So we started this together and I think she's since finished it, or at least has made another big chunk of progress. I'm still pretty behind on it. I have more intentions of working on this once it's actually December, but this was a part of my picks for the Bake Off challenge that I failed out of. I had mostly just put in all the projects I hadn't touched yet this year. And so this was one of them because it hadn't been Christmassy yet. And I really didn't do any Christmas in July stitching this year. So this is what it's looking like. I'm stitching this on 40 count Billie Jean linen by Roxy Floss Co. with my own Forbidden Fiber Co. color conversion that I'll show you here just in a second. But I just mapped out the black wings on the cardinal and started filling in that red. So I anticipate that red fill-in going pretty quick once I start getting into it. And then it's just finishing out the quote under here and the vine at the top. This is a pretty small project. So once I focus in, it should get done. But I just think it's such a pretty Christmas piece. And brightening it up just really makes me happy, especially with the blue linen. Kate ended up doing a blue linen too, and it's just gorgeous. It's such a fun piece. I'll show you my color conversion here. I'm keeping this in a project bag from Sheba Designs. It's like Christmas quilt blocks. And this one, this pattern is actually found in the Home for the Holidays book by Blackbird Designs, which also has Christmas Garden in it that I will be working on again at the end of the year. But this is what my conversion looks like. So I brightened up all the colors. I'm using all stashed Forbidden Fiber Co. flosses, and that's what I ended up with. So I can't wait to get that really light green in there. I haven't done that yet, but that's my little brighter color conversion for this Blackbird piece. So I think I've told you guys before that one of my strategies when I start to lose my stitching bug, because it's happened a couple times. I've been stitching now for four years, I think 4 years at this point. And you know, sometimes you just don't feel like doing the craft you do every single day, and that's okay. But one of the things that I try to do to snap myself out of it is I will pick up a project that I have virtually no progress on. Because it feels like a new start without having to pick your fabric and pull flosses, which sometimes can feel a little overwhelming and it doesn't quite scratch my itch. There are times when a new start is necessary to restart your stitchy bug. There are times when that just feels like too much work, but you want to feel like you're working on something new. I did that a little bit earlier this year when I lightly lost my stitching bug, not this like real intense one that I lost. So anyway, I ended up picking up my one project remaining that was under 10% complete. I like to now, as a rule, get all of my new starts past 10% when I pick them up, but I have been slowly working on dwindling down my list of projects under 10% complete, and this was my one remaining roadblock. So I picked up Turkish Delight by Rosewood Manor. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous chart. My friend Maddie of Kitty Stitch has finished hers. She's doing hers in a more, she did hers, more true to the called for colors, but I am using the Roxy Floss Co. full conversion, which changes the fabric from a hot pink fabric to a white fabric, and it is gorgeous. So the last time you saw this, I had a pitiful start. I only had 3 letters of the alphabet done, like 250 stitches, like 1% complete. And now it's at a respectable, what is it at? Now it is at a respectable 10.1% complete. Everybody clap. I am stitching this on 36 count porcelain linen by Roxy Floss Co. with their conversion. And so I only had DEF done. I went and did ABC. I did this whole line underneath, and I started on this little floral border that separates the top rows of alphabet. I'm obsessed with this project. I do feel like I could have just kept going. It's so addictive. It is beautiful. It is 1 strand on 36 count, which again is incredible, but this is a honker of a project. I started this in June of 2024 with my friend Maddie. Maddie has since finished it because Maddie is a more responsible human than me and has a lot less whips. But you know, it is what it is. I started it for her birthday, and I am where I am, and I'm enjoying the process. So I'll show you guys my color conversion here. I have this one in a project bag from Evertotes, which is also gorgeous. And this is what my colors look like. They are so, so beautiful. They're a little tangled from being in the bag, but it is these gorgeous like bluey greens and yellows and purples and dusty pinks. It's just, it's my jam. And I can't wait to get into the center mandala on this project, but for now, I did, I think, about 2,000 stitches on this one. So it's at about 2,400 stitches done. And my needle minder is from Caterpillar Cross Stitch. It's the Lever House needle minder. And yeah, it will fit, I think, just about perfect on this fat quarter of linen. I just love this. I had so much fun working on this, and it definitely helped to snap me out of my stitchy bug loss. So always nice to have something a little bit not very done, because it does help with that. I want something new, but I don't want to do something new. You know what I mean? Now we get to get into a couple finishes, because we're moving firmly into my stitching bug is back territory here. But I decided to pick up my closest project to a finish and finally wrap it up like I said I was going to back in June. And that is Oh Joyous Day by Blackbird Designs. I started this back in February of 2023, and the last time you saw it, I think it was sitting at about 67% complete, somewhere in there. I had worked on it at StitchCon, and then when I got home, I was going to finish it up, and then I didn't. I got distracted, but it's done. I stitched this on 40 count Nessie linen by Picture This Plus. I highly recommend a blue fabric for this one. I think it turned out absolutely stunning. So I think the last you'd seen it, I just had these 2 flowers and the satin stitched borders and the leaves on this flower left, if I'm not mistaken. So I wrapped it up. So let me get you in close. It is a beautiful sampler. I am so happy it's done. It felt really good. This is a pretty big finish. It was my oldest whip of 2023 still remaining, so knocked that out. And yeah, it was just a fun one. So I highly recommend this sampler if you're looking for a Blackbird to start with. I think this is a really fun one. The satin stitch border is a specialty stitch, but it's so easy. It's very simple, and I just had a great time with this. So that is my Blackbird finish of the year so far. We'll see if there's gonna be another one, but very happy with it. Speaking of StitchCon, while I was there, I talked with my friend Elizabeth of Frizzy Lizzy Stitches about starting White Winter Moth by Kathy Barrick this year, and we agreed to do it in October. And then it became October. Both of us kind of lost our stitchy bugs, but we decided to start it anyway. So I think Lizzie's posted hers on her Instagram. She's doing a gorgeous color conversion to her wedding colors, which is beautiful. So she kind of inspired me to do a little bit of a color conversion too. But we started this together. I started a little bit after her on October 19th of this year. And this is what mine looks like. I'm stitching this on 40 count Duxbury linen. I had the offcut from my Sally Spencer sampler, and I figured it would be perfect. The vibe I wanted to go for was kind of like a dusky southwestern situation. So let me get you in close. I got this one to about 11% complete, about, where am I at? Oh no, I got this to 12% complete, about 1,200 stitches in. Honestly, mapping out the wings of the moth, probably the hardest part of the whole piece, but it's done. Let me show you my color palette here. I'm keeping this one in a Little Boat 88 bag with these cute little cats on it. But like I said, I wanted to go for like a dusky southwestern situation. So this is my floss palette. So I'm working with the 830s and the 3859 and white and a gold. It's a very simple color palette. I had originally pulled Ecru because I thought it matched the vibe a little bit more, but I ended up going with 3865 for the white. I know it's a little bit brighter. It doesn't match the palette as well, but it pops better on the fabric. And since so much of this piece is stitched in white, I really, really wanted to make sure that it popped out at you. And I know it's probably kind of hard to see the tracing of the wings, but once it's filled in, it'll be a whole lot easier to see. So almost all the colors are on the piece at the moment, but I just love this. I think it's so pretty. I'm really glad we started it. Having a new start was very fun in October, and I think, knock on wood, now you've heard me say it before and I've been wrong, and I certainly am not going to pretend like I know what the rest of the year holds, but I think this is my last start of 2025. I'm just not really in a new start kind of mood. I really want to work through some of my whips, and that's what I've been felt called to do pretty recently. So again, I'm not gonna like hold myself to that. If something comes up that I want to start, I may start it, but I think this is it for me for the year, and it's already past its 10% mark. So I'm feeling really good, and I'm very glad Lizzie and I decided to start that together. So after we started White Winter Moth, I was craving another fast finish. So I picked up another one that was pretty close, which is Tomato Hill by Plum Street Samplers. The last time you guys saw this, I only had like 800 stitches left. I was pretty far. My friend Cam of Cam the Stitcher and Marjorie of Marjorie Made and I started Tomato August this year, where we stitched on projects with tomatoes in the month of August. And Cam and I had started Tomato Hill, and I really wanted it done, and then I didn't do it, and then I lost my stitchy bug. So I picked it back up and I got it finished, and this is what it looks like all done, which is awesome. I started this on August 7th, finished it on October 24th. I stitched it on a 40 count blue linen by Color and Cotton. I forgot the name and I didn't write it down, but it was a fabric of the month for sure. And then I used all the called for fancy flosses and a couple DMCs that were called for too. It's such a fun, small piece. Cam and I originally saw this back when it was a retreat exclusive, and then we were waiting for it to come out for general release, which it did in March. And sometimes we make plans to start things later in the year, in March, when we get overwhelmed by all the new exciting things that come out at market, and we don't do them. And so we did it, and I'm very proud of us. So go us, Cam. I know she's finished hers. She did hers on Spicy Mustard by Fiber on a Whim, I think. My kind of plan was to do it on the blue so it looked like the sky behind it. And I don't know how I'm going to achieve this yet, but my goal is to finish it kind of like a postage stamp, because I think this looks like a little postage stamp. So I don't know how I'm going to do that, like if I need to jigsaw cut a piece of really thin plywood with that like postage stamp cutout and then like back it onto there. I don't know if I need to like custom order like from a finishing company, if they could do like a little postage stamp board that I could flat finish it on top of. I don't know, but I want this to look like a postage stamp, and I haven't figured out how to do that yet. Option B is a pillow, but I just think, don't you guys agree? Wouldn't this make a cute postage stamp? So can't wait for tomato August next year, but this was my one for this year and it's all done. We're now getting into the territory of what I stitched in like the last week, 2 weeks, and I have been craving hitting my goal marks. So I wanted to pick up a project that had not been touched this year, because when I reevaluated what I could actually realistically get done by the end of 2025, I want to touch all my projects. I've said that from the beginning of the year. I want to have everything have at least one stitch put into it by the end of the year. So I grabbed a project that hadn't been touched yet and that was pretty close to hitting its next percentage goal. And that was Margaret Hull 1872 by Quaint Rose Needle Arts. I started this back in December of 2023. And the last time you saw it, it was sitting at about 33% complete, about 3,000 stitches in. Every time I work on this project, it's like crack. I can't put it down and I always get insane amounts of progress on it. I worked on this for very few days for the amount of progress that I have. And so I thought it'd be fun to work on this and really feel that like reviving stitching energy that always comes off of this project. So my goal was to get it to 50%. And I did. And I did. So I'm stitching this on 36 count dirty porcelain linen by Roxy Floss Co. with the call for DMC. And it's now at 51% complete, or about 4,600 stitches in. I did all of the fill-in of 3790 on the tail, and I did a lot of work in on the leaves underneath the bird. I was gonna finish them all the way, but I did need to break and work on something else since I hit the percentage goal on this. But it's so fun. It's such a beautiful light sampler. It's very airy and it's gonna let the linen breathe when it's done. But finishing the bird officially feels really good. And I just love working on this. I had planned on working on it in sampler September and that obviously didn't happen. So we pivoted and it still got touched this year. I got like 2,000, no, not 2,000, like 1,500 stitches in on it, which is not a huge chunk of progress, but it's not bad. It's not bad. And I just love it so much. So big fan of this sampler. I cannot wait to finish out this branch. There's a little bit that goes over here and then to actually get to start working on the other motifs. I know it's going to be a counting nightmare, but it's going to be so much fun. I can't wait to get there. So it's now working towards 75%, which is great. Well, folks, we've done it. We've reached the final project I've worked on since we last talked. And it's a good one, and I've gotten a lot of progress on it. I'm pretty happy with it. But this is the Pumpkin House by Hello from Liz Mathews. I had it on my list to try and finish it this year, and I'm gonna try. We're gonna see. But when I picked it up, it was sitting at about 50% complete, and I really wanted to get it to 75 before we chatted today. And I'm happy to report that last night I did. So this is what it's looking like now. I am stitching this. This is a double fabric piece, which means the bottom half is stitched on a different fabric than the top half. I finished the bottom half back in 2023 when I started it. Yeah, September of 2023. And then I've been working on this top half here. This top half is stitched on Topaz by Fiber on a Whim. And I'm using a Forbidden Fiber Co. conversion put together by Carrie of Tiger Lily Designs. I think Carrie has long since finished this piece as well. It's really not huge in the grand scheme of things, but it is gorgeous. Here, let me show you. I'm keeping this in a pumpkin project bag from Jasmine Custom Bags, one of her minis. So this is what the bottom half looks like. It's all wrinkled from being in the bag, but that's the bottom half. And then the top half looks like this. And Liz has a bunch of these in different seasons in her repertoire at the moment. But since you've last seen this, I did all of the fill-in on the roof, all of the window outlines, all these pumpkins, more roof, and then the door and this bottom line of windows. So I'm currently working on color completing as I'm doing this. So I color completed all of the black stitches, then all of the orange stitches, all of the other orange stitches. Then last night I wrapped up all the brown ones. So I now exclusively have just the cobblestones on the house. That's it. 4 colors, 1 house. I think I have 1,900 stitches remaining at the moment. I've now gotten it to, I think this is at 79. Yeah, 79% complete. I have 1,900 stitches left. I think I'm gonna push through for the finish. I'm gonna take a little break for today and then tomorrow to work on Spook Haunt for actual Halloween. And then on Saturday, I'm gonna pick this right back up. And then I do have to finish the back stitch lines in the windows as well. I didn't do those when I stitched the black because some of these intersecting motifs I wanted to have done before I did the back stitch lines. So that's the pumpkin house, and I think it's gonna get to be a finish this year. If I really, really try, I think I could get it done. And then comes the hard part about sewing the two fabrics together to actually finish them in the frame. But hey, that's a task I will gladly accept. So that was the last project that I've worked on. I know there's probably some haul and some other things, other crafts I've worked on for sure that we could chat about, but I just wanted to get a video out for you. So we did the easy thing and just talked stitching today. As far as goals for the rest of the year, like I said, I still want to see if I can finish the pumpkin house. I had made a lot of goals at the beginning of the year, a lot of goals, and sometimes your plans change and you have to reevaluate. So after reevaluating, I'm not going to hold myself to any harsh goals for the rest of the year. I'd like to, again, touch on my projects. I think I have 4 or 5 projects left that have not gotten any FaceTime this year. So I'm trying to work those down to see if I can at least get 200, 300 stitches on each one. And then I want to see if I can still finish my yearly goal. My friend Cam and I planned to finish Secret Garden and Autumn Cloche together this year. Autumn Cloche has fallen behind for both of us. The stitchy bug really killed that one for me, but I'm gonna see if I can get that done. And then other than that, I'm just gonna enjoy what I'm stitching on. I'm gonna try and work on what I feel called to work on and just kind of enjoy being back in the habit of it. I'm still in the phase of getting my stitching bug back where it feels exciting to be stitching at all. So any stitches are good progress. I just want to make sure that I'm using them wisely to try and get my whip count down. I'm currently sitting at 29 whips for the year, and I'd like to see if I can get that down to 27 before the end of the year. We'll see. No harsh goals, no big plans. But like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, my work has kind of ramped up. So I'm not sure when I'm gonna get to film again. We'll see. I'd like to put out one video in November and then kind of come back full force to Flosstube in December with my full year end whip parade. So content might be a little scarce, but I am around and I am alive. I just wanted to get out a little video, share all of the stitches that I've been working on. Because good Lord, we talked about 11 projects today. That's like half my whip pile. Like I could have just done a whip parade today. No, I like to do those in December. I like to have all of my yearly stats and all the things. So anyway, I hope you guys are having so much fun stitching on autumnal things or Halloween things or even other stuff that isn't seasonal, if that's what you like to work on. I am having a great time getting back into things, balancing my hobbies, doing a little bit of sewing, a little bit of stitching, a little bit of Stardew Valley, which I'm still having so much fun with. So let me know what things you guys have been working on. Let me know what other hobbies you've been working on that are not cross-stitch related down below. And as always, if you've made it to this point in the video, go ahead and leave a little ghost emoji because it's the day before Halloween. And that sounds fun. So I'm gonna see if I can get this to you on Halloween. My editing skills are also a little rusty, but thank you guys so much for joining me today and for chatting about cross-stitch. It felt good to be back. So thank you for the grace you had on my little break as well. And I'll try to be better about letting you know when I'm in those versus just taking a cold turkey break. But some things you just can't predict, like the loss of your stitchy bug, which means no content for your cross-stitch YouTube channel. It is what it is. It's back now. I'm having a great time. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. And I will chat with you guys next time, probably in November. Bye.